Hello there, join me as we design a Sunday poster with the theme of receiving divine counsel. And once inside our software, we want to go to File and New, and then I'm choosing a size of around 2700 and 3300. So first things first, now I have a blank canvas. I am going to import a subject, and this subject I will extract from a different poster that I worked on for easier work. And this is the resource that I want to use to extract a few things, including the logo and the subject. So we start with the subject by simply going to the layers panel, selecting that layer, and Control C on your keyboard to copy. You could also use Function 3 or F3 if you're on Windows. And then Control V, you have it pasted somewhere here, and you can move it around however you want. I will also use this. This is the logo. So Control C again, and then come back to my canvas, Control V. If you're wondering how I'm switching between the canvas, they are up here. So this is the second document, this is the first document. Just the way you navigate on your browser. Another thing I want to do is to do a center line, a center vertical line. So I'll come to View, Guides, New Guide, and then because I do not want to get into the mathematics of pixels, I'll use percentage, so 50, and then the percentage sign, and then OK. It will give me this centered line here. So now I know I can align my elements accordingly. So I start typing. This is receiving, and let me use this red. Receiving, and then on a different layer, I'm using divine. On yet a different layer, I will use Counsel. From here, we are supposed to decide how everything will look like and how everything will relate to each other. What I want to do is to move the subject slightly to the right rather, and then I want to use a long font. I want the subject on top of everything else, so let me move the subject back to the center and resize. I may want to invert the color so that now I have more red on the background and white on the letters. So I will choose my color picker, pick that red, and then down here, introduce another layer and paint it red. But since this red is not as good to me, I will do a gradient overlay, come to Effects, and choose Gradient Overlay. Something like that. You may adjust this angle. You may come back to editing the colors here, and then choosing the different shades of red. So we have moved another step, but then receiving divine counsel is hidden. So let's even make it even more dramatic. Introduce another layer. Come to this red color, but then pick a lighter one. So a lighter hue of the same color, and then use a brush. You find your brush here or B on your keyboard, and then I'm choosing soft round, and just paint slightly. Let me uncheck this pressure sensitivity and increase my brush size, something like that, just for dramatic effect. I want to do something else down here behind the subjects, like so. Now I get a new problem that my gradient is affected. So I will duplicate this layer, drag it on top of everything else, and then using the same brush, now choose clear instead of normal and clear this. Now you have that step done. So we are supposed to come back to the text because this is the main message or the main thing that the viewer is supposed to see. So come back to this T or type tool, and then once you select that, you'll have options here for changing the font color. If you drag it all the way to that corner, you get your white, and that is that. You may move it around depending on how you want things. This divine, I want to change it to back to Argentum so that it fills this place and also looks a bit different. So I'm moving the text around and then selecting them again and making sure they're center aligned. Also, they're vertically aligned like that. So we have moved yet another step. We can do a little more of effects like drop shadow as we try. Let's see what it looks like when you do that. You play around with these parameters until you find out what works for you. So another thing we can experiment with, if it works, we use it. If it doesn't, we leave it, is a gradient. And now let's use a few presets and let's check the basics. This is too dark. We cannot use blues, you cannot use reds because you have reds already. Maybe oranges, not so cool. But we can use the oranges like this, change the angle to something like that, and then change this color to white. So this now works better than what we would have done. So if you keep adding gradient, they would look the same. So come to Divine, do the same gradient overlay. I thought it would pick the last item we used. It did not, so we go back to the oranges, pick it. And then come back to editing it and include a white at the end. And then shift the angle a bit. Let's do the opposite of it. And then do cancel. Gradient overlay. Let's pick oranges. Pick the orange that you'd like and then come to this color here and change it to white. And go to the angle and change it. You can also change the scale however way you want it. We will have another material introduced here, and that is we can have one or two flares. So we have this one, and we have that one. So now because it is too bright, we need to change how it looks. Come back to, we'll come up here at normal, and then we'll play around with this adjustment layer, see what each of them gives us. So you have darken, multiply, color ban, all of this, until we find one that works for us. Let's try with this other one, with all the options that we have at our disposal, and reduce the effect. I'll introduce another thing on the background. So above the background, above this one, I will introduce something. So in a minute, I'm importing it. So now this is what I've introduced. Let me just drag it on top so that you see what it looks like, and then back to where I want it. What you do is you come back to the adjustment layers and look for one that blends with the background in a dramatic way. I think I'll go with overlay and leave this on here. I may want to resize it like so, and then just introduce a mask and then mask out the edges so that they are not visible. Mask out these edges like that. Now I'm going to the shapes tool and then selecting triangle, and then a white color. Then this white color, I want it to go below Glory Pentecostal Fellowship so you can read it easy. We're supposed to write the date and any other information that is necessary. We have one last thing to do, And this is to kill all the negative spaces to the left and to the right and at the bottom. So we pick our crop tool, start with the bottom, hit the check mark, like so. Now for the left and the right, now let me just do a little bit more of cropping. Up to there, hit the check mark. And then click the crop tool again. And then with one of the handles selected, hold Alt so that you have it cropping on either edges uniformly, like so. And then hit the check mark. So if you wanted to, you could still crop. I'm okay with this. So I will forward this to the client and see what they say. Thank you for watching. If you're looking for a designer for your project, please hit me up on my email or on my WhatsApp.